Well, that was a real kick in the hinky. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom, Wildflower Grossi, and today we're going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers, going 6-1 by defeating the Washington football team 24-10. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have Mitchell Sanford, we have Godzilla, we have Pack Imbly, we have Enweiser, and we have Goofy Goober Sama. A big shout out and thank you to you all. And over on the YouTube side of things, we have Andrew Connor, Enweiser again, and Bully Hunter Brad. A big shout out and thank you to you all. So, you probably have gotten a little bit tired of me saying this at this point, but the Green Bay Packers walked into Week 7, an injured football team. Now, on top of all the injuries we already had, Preston Smith was out today. Kevin King continued to be out. Darnell Savage was thankfully ready to go, so that was a big plus. But we are still an injured football team. And so going into this, you're looking at the Washington football team going, okay, their defense is 32nd out of 32 teams in giving up points. So you're like, all right, they'll be able to score some points. But all of a sudden, it looked like the Washington football team's D-line, they decided to play some football. Looking at the offense, Aaron Rodgers, 27 for 35, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, was sacked 3 times and was pressured a whole bunch, but still having himself a darn good game. And I just wanted to highlight in the last 6 games, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, over 1,500 yards, 1,578 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is playing pretty darn good football. The run game, don't know her. Never heard of her. Jones, 6 for 19. We had no run game. A.J. Dillon tried to get something going. Actually had 2 fumbles. One of those got recovered by Washington. So not a good day for A.J. Dillon. Devontae Adams was our leading receiver. 6 receptions for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. Following today's game, he is officially number 2 all-time for Packers in terms of receptions with 596. He passed Sterling Sharp. He's still way, way behind Donald Driver, but congratulations to Devontae Adams. You saw some Robert Tonyan finally getting involved on National Tight Ends Day, 4 for 63 with a touchdown. And Allen Lazard, man, oh, God. 5 for 60, 1 touchdown. There was one drive where they just constantly went to him. It capped it off with a touchdown. Allen Lazard had himself a real good game. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, where the Packers have had a god-awful red zone defense. Everything else has been pretty good, but god-awful red zone. They came in, had 4 red zone stops today. One of those we'll talk about with Heineke going down before the end zone. We'll talk about that. But the Packers definitely stepped up. They forced Washington to go only 4 for 11 on 3rd down and 1 for 4 on 4th down. Devondre Campbell continues to be the best offseason pickup for the price and the output that we have gotten out of him. Had 10 solo tackles today. Rashawn Gary had 2 sacks, 4 QB hits. Amos, 6 tackles, 2 passes defended. Dean Lowry having himself a darn good season. 2 solo tackles, half a sack, and a fumble recovery. Even Sully, Chandon Sullivan, get himself an interception. Yeah, pretty darn good. The first 6 weeks, the Green Bay Packers had 0 stops in the red zone. 0. All the teams converted. Today, had 4 red zone stops. So that's improvement, baby. Meanwhile, for Washington, Taylor Heineke, he ran all over the Green Bay Packers today for 95 fracking yards, 10 carries. Through the air, 25 for 37, 268 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Gibson, 14 for 51. And Scary Terry, 7 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. That guy is just absolutely incredible. And speaking of the Washington football team, let's talk about Taylor Heineke a little bit. There is a play on 3rd down in which Taylor Heineke has a wide open end zone in which he runs and he drops down and his knee hits but before the end zone marker, and then he rolls into the end zone. They marked it a touchdown. They wind up calling it back, and people were flipping out like, oh, here comes the Packers paying the refs again. And it just turns out that people, again, don't know the rules of football. According to Mike Pereira, in a tweet that was sent in 2019, we're going to bring this guy back for you. If a runner gives himself up Where he touches, he is down. There was a defender that was coming along, and the Taylor decided to drop down instead of fully dive and extend, and because of that, he didn't get into the end zone. It's the same thing when a QB slides or when a running back decides to stop and drop down to potentially keep the clock running. It's the same deal. What happened the play right after? 4th down, QB sneak, the Packers make a stop there. So, some controversy with that, but folks, that be the rules. If you give yourself up, you are down where your forearm, your knee, or your buttocks hits the ground. That just be the football rules, and that's it. And I do want to give a shout out to this defense because considering all of the injuries, our leading pass rushers being out, our leading corners being out, they have played pretty damn well. Besides that one play with Eric Stokes on Scary Terry, Stokes played pretty darn well. He had a big 4th down stop. And Joe Barry deserves some credit here. Yes, it's against the Washington football team, who is not a great football team this year. However, I still think there's a point to be made that they have kept them in games throughout these past few weeks, and they have helped with this 6-game win streak. And this on top of that today, the Packers lost the time of possession battle. They didn't even have the football for as long as the Washington football team, and they still came out with a W. And just taking a look at the special teams coverage was great today, but continuing to be phenomenal is Corey Bajorquez, our new punter. And man, oh man, that guy had one punt and it literally hit right before the goal line. Yeah, it's good to see that. I'm very happy that I don't have to sweat every single time a punter comes out. Though the fact in the beginning, you had blocked field goals both from Washington and the Packers, I thought we were going to get the Bengals game again, and I was terrified. And I think one of the important things to recognize is that the Green Bay Packers are not playing perfect football right now. And Aaron Rodgers said so in his post-game press conference. And he said, "We haven't played our best ball yet, but we're still 6-1. That's all that matters. We've won 6 straight. We haven't lost since week 1. And we're not even in our final form yet. All the injuries on offense, on defense, MVS being out, Bakhtiari still being out, Josh Myers being out. We still have yet to put it all together. So when this team does and we get those guys back from injury, yeah, this could be a scary football team." Now, speaking of scary, and not Terry, this Thursday, the Green Bay Packers on a short week are heading into Arizona to take on the, right this second, undefeated Cardinals, even though they're struggling with the Texans as I'm watching this right now. It is going to be a battle. But the Packers have a little bit of a tough schedule coming up, especially if the Chiefs decide to turn it around. So it's fantastic that we were able to get out of this 7-game stretch, being 6-1, hopefully turning a corner, getting healthy after this Thursday, and let's see what these Green Bay Packers can do. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, and don't you think I forgot about the sexy throwback jerseys. Yeah, they are a work of art. But let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media you see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.